everybody. After that calamity with the black bars today, I couldn't let it go without giving you guys a video on how it's supposed to work and also explaining exactly what went wrong. Okay, so if I'm clicked anywhere in my timeline and I click on File, New, Black Video, it's never going to turn up because for some reason you have to be clicked over in your project bin to go File, New, Black Video. And there it is. Why they do that, I do not know. Anyway, we go create. Okay, so I'm going to drag this one over here and I'm going to drag this one over here. Now the reason it was so confusing today is these things are actually counterintuitive, right? So when they come up to filling 100% of your screen, all right, and the way they work is actually, it's counterintuitive. It's not as you'd expect. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I've already searched for crop and I'm going to drag it down onto this bar here. Okay, now the way this works is at the moment there's no crop. We've got one solid black piece of video and there's no crop on it. So when we begin to crop it from the top downwards, it actually ends up at the bottom. So when we're cropping at the top, it ends up on the bottom bar, and when we crop at the bottom, it ends up on the top bar. And when you're a little bit stressed and very tired, it's very hard to get your noggin around this. Added to which that I was trying to apply it to something that already had a black fade in. Thank you, Murillo, for explaining that one. I wouldn't have got it. Okay, so I'm going to do this now. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. This is on the top layer, right? But watch this. So at the very beginning, what I want is I want both of these to be at 50% and for them to separate. Okay, so I'm going to click on this top one. I'm going to click on the keyframe for top and I'm going to set it to 50. And that's it done. I'm going to come a small distance out. I'm going to set another keyframe and I'm going to set it to 90. Okay, now at the moment we can't see anything, but I'll hide this one just to show you. And there it is. Now watch this. Starts at 50%, but you'll notice that even though I'm adjusting the top, it's cropping from the top. So 50% brings it down to here and 90% brings it down to here. And that's why it was so counterintuitive. So we'll just do the opposite with the other one. We'll bring it back up here. We're going to hide that one. And in this time, we're going to drag crop over onto this. And we're going to adjust the bottom one. So right at the beginning, we're going to put in a keyframe. And we're going to set it to 50. And there it is. And I want to go to exactly the same place as the first video. So I'm going to bring it up for a second. I'm just going to pop over to the second keyframe. And then I'm going to hide it. And go down to the bottom one again. And set another keyframe and set it to 90. Okay, and bring this one back up. Now there's my two black bars. I'm going to scroll back. Watch this. That's it. Now obviously it's very slow because I set a keyframe that was a few seconds in. And that's it. Now Murillo, you were asking, is it possible to use that as a blink? Absolutely. All you have to do is just use way less frames and make it go black, blink, blink. So very fast. So start off with them at the very top and bottom of the frame. Bring them into 50% and then bring them back again within a second or two. Okay? Or not within a second or two, within a couple of frames, and you'll get your blink out of it, right? So listen, I hope that that makes up for today. It's just counterintuitive. The truth is that when you're cropping in on the top aspect here, the more you bring it down, the more it heads, or the more you increase the crop, it's cropping from here all the way down to here. And when you're cropping on the bottom aspect, it's cropping from here up to here. So you would be forgiven for thinking that the top crops it and stays on the top, but it doesn't. It's logical that if you're cropping the top by 90%, obviously all you're going to end up with is 10% on the bottom. That makes sense. It's just the word top is throwing it off and the word bottom is throwing it off. Okay. So listen, I hope that solves the problem. You know the story. If you want to add that little bit of shadow onto these, it's perfectly easy. You just go over here and you just type in drop for drop shadow, and you drag that onto. I'll drop it onto the top one, and you'll see it comes up over here. Now I'm going to hide the bottom one, and I'm going to jump to the next keyframe on this. So hang on there for 1 second. Okay, so what I want to do on this is I basically want to add a shadow to it. So I really need to see it to begin with. So I'm just going to increase the distance so I can see it. And I'm going to move the direction around. Now I can see it there. It's perfectly vertical now, give or take 1%. So I'm then going to add some softness to it. Basically, it's kind of a blur. And then I'm going to bring the distance back down just to create a tiny bit of shadow. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with this one. I'll drop the drop shadow onto the bottom one. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to increase the distance and then move the angle around so that we can actually see it on the screen. So hang on a second. Click on that one. Okay. If we could bring up the make it visible, that would help. Okay, so we're going to move this around until it's perfectly vertical. And then we're going to bring the distance back up again, but we also want to add the blur to it. Now we can go back in and look at the one down here to see what the blur on this is. The blur on this is 78. So we'll change the blur on this to exactly the same, 78. And then we're going to have to bring the distance back in again because it's far too far. We only want to, it also seems to be gone off to the right a little bit. There we go. So now we just have this slight little shadow on those. And again, they're happening really, really slowly because I'm after leaving it a couple of seconds. And it just creates a nice little effect. Okay, look, sorry about that today. Bit of a brain fog, working all weekend. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But there's a solution on how to do it properly, okay? Thanks, guys.